Hey, thanks for joining us. I'm Joe Cortez, joined by James Burns of FrontRowPreps.com, powered by Chicken Ranch Casino, and it's time for our large school rankings, brought to you by Valley Orthopedic, the bone and joint specialist. Burnsy, we had a big shake-up up the top.
We did.
Could have had more, but well, let's start at the bottom. We've got a new entrant in Pacheco of Los Banos, debuting at number 10.
Glory lost last week to Merced, and they tumbled all the way down outside of the top 10, making room for Pacheco. Now, can Pacheco hold on to that spot? We'll find out this week against Seattle.
Patterson, number 9. They take on Los Banos this week in their home.
Well, what I like about this matchup, too, is this is an old WAC rivalry. These two have competed for WAC titles for a number of years. Now they're no longer in the same conference, but I guarantee that feeling, that same atmosphere is going to be there on front.
Battle of the Cats, the Tigers. Number 8, UHAC Colony, coming off a tough loss to a really talented Tracy
I
team.
guess if there's a silver lining to taking such a tough loss, they controlled the clock. The offense did what it wanted to do. It's the defense that couldn't avoid the big play. I look for the Thunder to rebound this week against Edison, and I think the defense will have something to say about it.
Number 7, Oakdale, quite a tumble.
You know, it was really hard for me to justify keeping the Mustangs higher, keeping the Mustangs inside the top 5 after such a tough loss against Archbishop Mitty, especially when you have the teams right behind them that have played so well to start the season. It's going to take them getting back on track, and I think El Capitan is the perfect opponent for them to do it. They'll go on the road to Merced College and face the Gauchos, and I think the Mustangs get back on track this week.
They'll be at Stadium 76 this week. Number 6, Pittman, moving up 2 spots from number 8.
Pride will move to 3-0 in this game. They face a winless Pleasant Grove bunch. They got to go on the road. They got to go to Elk Grove, and that might be the toughest part of their night. And we, you know, Tom Tyler's bunch, TNT, man, they have really come out and made some noise. Jacob Partita, our large school athlete of the week this week, you got a chance to talk to him. He thought he was chasing a touchdown record and ended up with a single game rushing record.
Number 5, my alma mater, Merced, taking on Downey in one of our 3 potential games of the week. We'll talk about the others coming up, but Merced versus Downey.
Yeah, this is going to be an exciting one, and I expect that Chuck Hughes Stadium is going to be filled to the brim on this one. I think Merced is going to travel well, and I think the Downey Knights have a lot of momentum coming into this game. You know, Downey took care of a team with a lot of weapons in Manteca last week, engaged in a shootout and pulled that one out. I feel that they're going to find a team in Merced that has even more weapons and a chance to get vertical quick, has a multitude of backs and a huge offensive line. You know, Merced is one of those teams. There have been quite a few impressive teams to start the year, but you know, I think Merced is at the top of that bunch.
Number 4, Manteca, the Buffaloes.
You know, Manteca drops 2 spots to number 4 after their loss to Downey. It really was a game that some feel Manteca could have won, but they fall 2 places. They lost that game, and now comes a chance for them to atone for it. They got a Granada team coming from out of section, from over the hill. Could be a tough matchup. We'll see. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for them to bounce back and show their mettle.
Number 3, Turlock. And speaking of Turlock, we're here coming to you from Joe Debley Stadium, home of the Bulldogs and the Pittman Pride. Turlock takes on Tracy this week in the battle for the bone, a couple of Bulldogs, and this should be a real good one.
You know, in years past, this has always been the barometer, I think, for Turlock. This game, more than any other, and their schedule's always sort of loaded, and they always got some big games on it, but this is the game that really tells them, okay, are we ready for league? Are we ready for the rigors of league play? And what a matchup we have. 2 of the top teams in the Sac Joaquin section going at it. Tracy enters with one of the top quarterbacks in Logan Fife, and Turlock, well, they got back on track last week against Reno, one of Nevada's best, a state finalist last year. They blow out Reno and really climb. They didn't just vault in our rankings. They didn't just climb in our rankings. They climbed up the leaderboard on Max Preps for the section and their division. A lot of respect gained for those Bulldogs.
Absolutely. Turlock and Tracy have met 6 times in the last 4 years. 2 of those seasons, they've met in the regular season and in the playoffs. Right. Tracy sweeping both of those on those occasions. Turlock really looking forward to this one.
Incentive, yep.
Number 2, Downey, and we alluded to Downey Merced earlier. It's like Turlock and Tracy. It's a potential game of the week candidates for us here at Front Row Preps.
You know, I think this one was an easy one for us at number 2. They beat the number 2 team last week. They earned the right to take that. We knew they could score points. They played just enough defense, well enough to beat East Union and Manteca, 2 returning playoff teams. Yep. You couldn't ask for a better start. Now, what we're curious to see is, does that offense stay with Bo Green, or do we start to see Bryce Gauker kind of mix back into that bunch? And what I'd like to see is maybe the defense kind of tighten it up a little bit and hold some of these good teams to fewer points. This is going to be a real chore for them, a real test.
You wrote a really interesting story this week, you know, talking about Downey, talking about Turlock, talking about Pittman, and Grigori even. Has the CCAL kind of supplanted the VOL as this region's top league? And that you can find that at frontrowpreps.com. I thought that was a real interesting piece with the success the CCAL has had early.
Yeah, I think that is kind of what we're hearing and we're feeling as we're out and about in these communities and watching these games and talking to some of the coaches and the players. You know, the section did a great job in putting this league together with Turlock, Pittman, Grigori, Modesto, Downey, and Enox. And really those teams have answered the call. I think that they recognize that, hey, we're in a much tougher league. We gotta prepare differently. We gotta take on different opponents, and we're seeing it early on. I mean, the CCAL was 7-5 through the first 2 weeks, with a pair of 2-0 teams in Downey and Pittman, and you know, the VOL, the standard bearer for excellence in this area, is just 6-7.
Kind of taking it on the
Just
chin.
6
However,
and 7.
Archbishop Mitty,
De
De
La
La
Salle.
Salle. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, those are tough. And the number one team in our large school rankings, Central Catholic still. Now they lost. Of course, it was to De La Salle.
And all Central Catholic did in that game is really, you know, they really proved themselves as a worthy number one, a title contender, and possibly a section title contender at the B2 level. They hung with De La Salle for 3 quarters.
So anyway, that's a look at our large school rankings for James Burns. I'm Joe Cortez of FrontRowPreps.com, powered by Chicken Ranch Casino. Be sure to check out the large school rankings brought to you by Valley Orthopedic.